internal purposes only. Hello and welcome to DXDAO's Friday strategy call, August 26th. There is a pretty relevant topic lately that we've been discussing, restructuring and refocusing. So the two main topics of today's talk will be determining our focus and deciding whether and what restructuring would be needed to attain that focus. To kind of like prime it up, I thought about it. Personally, I feel like there's been some momentum, right? We've been carrying on for a while. We're growing, onboarding people. We introduce new people to our work environment, and they're doing the stuff that they feel like everyone feels we're okay with. And then there aren't like signals from anywhere, either internally or externally, that there's something inherently wrong with the whole scheme, and we just carry on, right? So, but if suddenly we were alerted, like, oh, what are we doing? It's wrong. Then it, I don't think there's anyone to blame. Like we indeed have a flat structure. Like if there was someone who was clearly appointed as responsible, we could have possibly said, "Oh, why didn't you say something?" Right? But there isn't such a person. We're a flat structure, so we kind of collectively bear the responsibility. And since we've all been doing what we've been doing for the past not just few months but 2 or 3 years, it kind of like feels like there shouldn't be anyone to blame. And now we have people providing outside perspective, which is very valuable. And the the plan moving forward should be for us to just evaluate what our focus should be collectively together as a team, and deciding how we should, if there is a need for it, restructure our current structure so that we could better attain that focus. And I think this is a team effort. And it's a little weird seeing amazing people kind of like getting into heated discussions. It's an emotional topic, and we all feel a little responsible. Every single one of us is responsible, right? So, and there are certain people who kind of like feel like they carry a bigger responsibility, a bigger burden. They shouldn't feel like that. We're all responsible, and it's up to us as a team together to get us out of this situation. And we shouldn't blow it out of proportion. I don't think it's that dreadful and that critical as someone might want to paint it. Venki posted on DAO Talk asking, what should we focus on? Is it quick profit or building robust, decentralized applications? But again, even if we go down the second route, which we've taken for quite a while, it should still have the prospect of any profit down the line, because every system should have sustainability. And like, if we don't portray ourselves clearly to the outside world as a charity, which we're not, like a nonprofit, then there's not an ongoing incoming stream of donations. And since we're not receiving donations, as we're not marketing ourselves as a nonprofit charity doing public goods, we should, whether short-term or long-term, still have it on our minds and in our focus to have a clear path to revenue generation. So, and it's not something we should like stress ourselves to death, or to the point that we're fighting with each other or cannot sleep at night to try and figure out ASAP. Like, yes, it's number one priority and we'll figure it out. It could take a few weeks, a couple of months, but it's not like the house is not on fire. The house is not on fire. We have time. We can reflect on what we've been doing and how we could shift so we could be more sustainable. And probably we'd need to also think of our operational model. Like, so far, we've had products, product leads, we've had roadmaps, and every time someone submits a proposal on DAO Talk and then on Chain as a contributor, they outline what they've been working on and what they would be working on in the future. And we've all voted on those proposals and approved them. And this is where we are. If we are indeed wrong in the direction we've taken, we are as a collective to blame. There shouldn't be a single person singled out and pointed fingers at. But at the same time, there shouldn't be anyone, whether internal or external, coming right now pointing fingers and saying, you've been doing it wrong. Like, if you are a part of the team, you've been doing it wrong too. We've all been doing it wrong. But it's not the end of the world. Let's figure it out. And it's, if something's wrong, don't point what's wrong. Submit a solution. Just give us an alternative, and we'll vote on the alternative. If it's better, why would people vote against it, right? So we should, I don't know, how do we create a bounty, like a prize for the best idea for presenting new opportunities to the DAO, restructuring, paths to sustainability, revenue generation, open it to external actors? But this is a time for us to come together, not like split. Let's take focus first, and then once we figure out focus,
I guess, Nathan, I think we can kind of understand that these things are tough. I think Federico was talking on the call about how like developing products is like really, really hard. And that's almost like the most important thing in understanding that. And also like DXDAO, what it's trying to do, building things with an on-chain organization is completely new. And it's also really, really hard. And so I think just kind of having some humility with that, and there's a lot of things that we're kind of figuring out here and trying to do, and also that things take time for understanding. Like, I'm already thinking and reflecting off of kind of the last couple of days, a lot of the input there, and I think we just need some of it. We just need to be able to like sit with it and let some ideas stew, and then come up with new things. But it kind of takes some time for this kind of conversation, I think, to go through everyone, to go through DAO and kind of all of that. So I think we're kind of in the middle of it.
Yeah. There is some low-hanging fruit. Some of it comes with risk, of course. One is being more aggressive and utilizing the assets for yield generation, but at the same time, if the whole reason for us to feel like we have fire under our asses, and it's because of worrying if we have enough runway, like, does that make us risk the funds so we could secure more runway, and at the same time risking that runway? It's a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can help you increase the runway. On the other hand, you're actually jeopardizing the runway. And it's not much different with restructuring, trying to figure out new products, starting from scratch, or trying to rebrand or rediscover existing products, new product market fits. So there's always risk involved. We probably have to evaluate pros and cons a lot with whatever we move forward. Also, that there has been something that has been mentioned in the past and now is OKRs. Personally, I should be vocal. I don't like the idea of that. It reminds me of kind of like commission-only freelancer work, multi-level marketing. I'm sad to say it, but if we go down that route, it will attract low-skilled, poor people, over-promising and under-delivering. We will lose our community. We'll lose our organization. We've had numerous projects throughout the years have 5 different commission-only freelancers try to show their product to us in our Discord, and it's a really sad picture. It's a bad look. When the Daoists were forming the now called DAO Planet, they had a lot of former bankless DAO folk who were complaining about the top-down bankless DAO model, where the bottom is low quality and ineffective, and if there are a few decent people, they feel insignificant and used. And at the same time, and that culture was transferred to DAO Planet, and it was a bit of a shit show with fund mismanagement and stuff like that. I don't feel like a top-down structure with and people being held like micromanaged or held responsible with OKRs, trying to overpromise and being stressed and trying to pester other communities, trying to shield something to the point of annoying them and burning bridges would be anything fruitful. I like our community. I like what we have as an organization.
Okay, now that we touched upon OKRs, I have to say that OKRs are never, if it is implemented right, it is never meant to link the compensation or link rewards based on how much of OKRs that we have achieved. So it is supposed to be from the bottom up, where we have a goal of an organization, we have an objective, and then we try to find out what are all the initiatives that we will do to reach that objective. One reason why I couldn't move on from in the previous time that I tried was because nobody was interested. Was one thing, and then I couldn't find, okay, who is this one person who can give me the objectives? And then DXDAO didn't have a specific objective, except for that we wanted to build decentralized suite of products. That was it. We want to build and ship decentralized suite of products. And then once I drilled down to that, it was hard because we don't have anything that we could measure against, because we were like this privacy centric. We don't track any data and such. So you cannot, it was hard to measure what we would achieve. Right. So that was one of the reasons why it didn't go through previously. And even now, if we all decide that, yeah, maybe we should try OKRs right now. We should have an objective. So if the objective states that revenue is going to be the objective for the year 2023, then we should start from there. Okay, what are all the products that we are working on? What is the spending that we are doing? And then we figure out, okay, which areas we could work on to get more objectives. And then it's driven by a lot of initiatives. So if it comes to Swapper, then we might probably want to ship a few features that adds fees to certain activities and so on. And these are all run by different set of initiatives to achieve that particular objective. And OKRs are always meant to challenge each team. So it is not meant to say that, we have completed 100% of whatever that we set out to achieve, because then if you do this 100%, it means that you have set very low objectives. And it is also not meant to it is also not meant that you have like, okay, make $1 million in fees. You cannot just keep an objective like that, because then you will start demotivating yourself. Your team gets demotivated because these are unobtainable objectives, right? So it is for us to know where we are and then try to create objectives where we will be able to achieve 60 to 70% and then have the remaining 30% as a stretch goal. And with all the quarterly plannings that we are doing currently in Swapper, it was not about revenue. It was always about user experience and bringing more markets and networks. And it was always about that. So it was always about trying to find out what our velocity was, and then trying to see if we are able to achieve 60 to 70%. And if we think that revenue is going to be the key thing, then we will probably change our objective.
Venki, that all totally makes sense. And the other question which you've also raised, and it's very important, and we don't have an answer for this, is how do we deal with the core, like either compromising or maintaining the core values of what DXDAO has said so far in terms of full privacy with zero tracking, no targeting, all that kind of stuff, actual as much full decentralization as possible versus using centralized things to be on lots of chains because we could get money that way, and without very clearly outlining what the plan is for those compromises versus holding values, right? Like those have always been a huge factor in the way that the products are made and used and built. And I don't know if you can make the roadmap for revenue or for growth or for user experience until you first define and answer those questions, which you've already raised. And it's the reason why it's confusing is because we don't know the answer to that. We're saying DXDAO is going to not compromise so far. But if we are going to compromise on some of those things, which of those things are we going to compromise on? And how are we going to compromise on them? And if we compromise, what do we think it will lead to? Will it lead to like better marketing or better a chance for revenue and stuff? So that has to actually come first, right? Like because that's confusing as hell, and that's not something that anyone from the outside is even looking at, right? That's like only the stuff we think about inside DXDAO. So the outsiders don't even know about this problem that we have to solve, right?
Yeah.
Indeed.
And I don't know an answer for that, but I guess maybe centralizing some things, like at least for, I mean, we are spending a lot of effort now on EcoRouter, right? And we brag about how that is like a differentiator. But we have launched in Polygon where it is EcoRouter only, but does it justify the spend that we are now working on, where we spend like about 4 for person weeks for adding one network? Does it make sense to keep adding these if we don't have any data? I don't have a very good answer, but yeah, I think it'll be good to.
Yeah,
to
I've
solve
even
this.
been thinking we're doing the eco router, but there are those meta bridges that they will soon. That there are some that do the bridge and swap, or swap and bridge, but it will at one point be the norm. It will be the default. Wherever you go to those bridges, they'll be doing swap and bridge and bridge and swap. And so is that pretty much the death of the eco router, right? So
yeah, we don't know yet if people are okay with like doing cross-chain swaps, right? Like when with all these hacks with bridges and shit, like people generally are right now leaning towards like keep my money on Ethereum, right? Like they don't even want to go to other chains. But if people are okay with their chains, we don't know if we want to like swap your one token and have it delivered on another chain. Like it's a unique idea, and like maybe with Cow protocol, like it gets interesting between Gnosis chain and mainnet or whatever, because they want to draw capital in a direction. They want to give benefits to having that capital in a certain place because they have a bias for Gnosis chain, which is another problem in general, right? Even though they're separate companies, Cow protocol has this underlying bias to pull capital to Gnosis chain, right? But the bridging, yeah. So even if echo routing wasn't used on Polygon, like bridging, so having swap around different chains for the bridging aspect is also interesting in addition to the echo routing, because bridging is cross-chain. We're using third parties for the actual technology of the bridging, right? Like Socket. Do we know, is it like echo routing where we don't know if Socket's used on Swapper, or can we track that like we're tracking if we send the Cow protocol? Do we know if people are using bridging cross-chain?
No, we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know at all if anyone is using the bridging at all using Socket. So that is a major lack of information, just like our echo router, which is very, very hard to deal with. I don't know the answer. So, but that's another question that we need to at least talk about. And that comes values. Yeah. We have a couple people, we could survey people, right? Like we've said that in the past, we can go survey everyone in the community or something to see if they're using it. But
well, yeah, just as a more positive thing, like I don't know, I consider myself a DeFi power user. I've been using for a couple of years, and like I use Swapper for a lot of things, or I couldn't use it really as probably the thing I go to the most, because I can do any trade I want there, and I can do any bridge I want there. And so just in all of this, like I think the user experience is a good one.
I've started using it more because of the lack of tracking. However, there is without on mainnet, without Uniswap v3, it doesn't feed to Uniswap v3, right?
Yeah.
Without Uniswap v3, it's at quite a disadvantage versus the prices you can get.
Now on mainnet, we now have the Uni auto router included in the eco router. So right now, inside Swapper on mainnet, you can place trades that can be split between Uni v2 and v3 pools.
Yeah. So we do have Uni v3.
It's actually even aggregation. It's not the usual eco router we got, because we're actually using the Uniswap auto router. It does aggregation, but only between Uni v2 and v3 pools. Not like the type of aggregation across different exchanges that 1inch does, but still does aggregation.
Cool.
What I feel like we've been chatting about it in Keybase, whether we should first try and market the product to get to a certain user base and then turn on fees. But I have been using different protocols or bridges, and I've never fretted about the fee. I've taken it for granted, like taken it as it's just something you gotta put up with. I just paid the fee. I think if we are offering safety and if we are having a great UI, I think we can charge. And if I'm okay doing it on bridges, in other exchanges, why not in Swapper? Like, I don't know. I cannot imagine seeing that Swapper will charge me, say, 50 cents or even $5, depending on the trade, and me saying, oh, no, I'm not going to do it. I'll go somewhere else. But that other place, it will still charge me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason I proposed thinking more about like seeing what Tally and MetaMask swaps do. And I know those are considered wallets, but like if there's a way to make something that feels more like a wallet and people are okay paying a large notional fee, those things are printing. MetaMask swap prints money. And like, why do people fucking swap through that? And like you're saying, Nathan, like, maybe it's not as 80 basis points, but like some additional fee if you have this like wallet-like experience, or it's more all-inclusive or something. I'm thinking like StakeDAO, like if they could swap through StakeDAO, in their swapping mechanism, they could just add a little extra fee because it's like this place you come for your DeFi. And Swapper, and maybe that's the vision of Zet and Venki of like maybe Swapper is not just Swapper anymore. Maybe it has to be rebranded as a home of DeFi for bridging and swapping and a bunch of staking and do-yourself farming, and those all make up a product that are not just Swapper, right? People just think Swapper, oh, just another AMM. What if it's your home for DeFi, and then Swap is one of the functions. Swapper is in there, and then it's DXFi and Swapper's in there. And when you use Swapper, just because you're used to using that for your portfolio and all that stuff, that you also just pay a little extra when you swap. Like,
yeah, and like Curve had a DNS attack, and we were responding on Twitter saying, oh, you could trade on Curve, use Swapper, and why not charge? Like, you circumvent the DNS attack. Like, you're not susceptible to the exploit. You cannot be targeted. You cannot lose your funds. And similar with Uniswap. Uniswap have TRM labs, and we were responding saying, use Swapper because we don't have TRM labs spying on you in Swapper. And again, that's a value proposition. We could charge for it.
Well, ETH.limo can be attacked. Is that, Dave? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, ETH.limo. It could, yeah, it's the same. It would be an attack on ETH.limo. Like our front end is also like attackable for sure. There are different ways, I would say.
No, but the IPF, if you're on the actual deployed thing of IPFS where it's actually deployed, like assuming it's on the right one, which is not, we have no badge that says you are on the official known one. This could be a fake one. You can't like take over the IPFS. Like,
yeah,
right?
For sure. But I think that's the same argument as Curve saying, yeah, you can just deploy a local front end to our UI. It's like an average user doesn't do that,
Yeah, but who's deploying that local front end, right? Is it one guy or is it a DAO? And
yourself. The same way you would have to go look up the IPFS hash, the correct one, and then find a gateway and go for a gateway. If you want to run the local Curve UI, you can just do it as well. I also just say this because I'm scared that if we ever do get front end attacked or something, and we've been like touting that, I think like technically it's simply not correct that we are untouchable on the front end. Like, we rely on Link and we rely on Limo. There are ways to access it properly, but it's like very bad UI UX wise, and I think 99% of our users do it for either Link or Limo, And I think it's just dangerous if we do in the future get attacked that way, and we've been touting, oh, fuck Curve, you can trade on, like, it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think the security stuff is separate from the ownership things. Like, I like to emphasize that DXDAO owns its front ends, and like, it's not like someone from the community running it itself. And I think that is an okay point to highlight, but that does not mean that it is the most secure and like protects against any type of like front end attacks.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was kind of criticizing what Nathan said. Like not criticizing you, Nathan, but just like clarifying it.
But basically, can anyone then say, why are we spending $1 million a year on Swapper? Why don't we shut it down today? What's the value proposition of what we're doing with Swapper? Basically, we are saying we could have used a .com and be faster shipping features, and we've been delayed by going through governance where it's not much safer. We can still be exploited. Then why are we building it?
So
Yeah,
in my mind, like we've always been saying this, is that Swapper alone is not exceptional and a standout and that valuable. But the whole point is DXDAO with a suite of DeFi products. And we have this written down many places where a project comes to DXDAO, they get a grant, they build their idea, they get an investment, they get incubated. Then we help them launch their token using what was Mesa and then was supposed to be Aqua. And then once they have a token, you need liquidity. And that's the most important thing where Swapper comes in. The way with Hopper, we just don't have a lot of communities like Hopper that have a token and need a place for liquidity and have ties to the DXDAO suite of tools. But if we were helping people launch tokens, which was the initial plan, then you would feed that liquidity right away into Swapper pools, and then you would incentivize it with the token, and then you would also use Carrot on top of that. That is where Swapper is a highlight in the ecosystem of suite of products. It's great to have an AMM for that specific reason, but just alone on its own, you can look at the Dune Analytics. It's in the top 30 dexes or whatever, but like there's a bunch of dexes, right? And there's a bunch of aggregators, and so it's alone. It's going to be hard to be the place that people come to. Even every aggregator like Paraswap has trouble getting people to come to their aggregator, right? It's not easy, but the suite, and it's used in that strategic way for all the communities that have tokens that we're helping, then it makes sense and it's a good asset to have. But other than that saying privacy and all that stuff is an additional awesome thing. But I don't know if that's but that's why people have been saying it's valuable for DXDAO to build and use, right?
I mean, it's like basically the question we asked in the beginning: do we do decentralized, robust dApps and front ends, or we go after revenue generating products? That we kind of, in a way, debunked the first one. We're saying we're trying to do something that will never be what we want it to be and what we market it to be. Then we would be looked at and seen as fools. So why not just go after, NFTs? Let's sell a bunch of NFTs and make some money and, generate revenue. It's like it's a bit of an identity thing, and also like a industry thing. We just realized Ethereum is not censorship resistant, right? Some people are saying USPs could help us. If there are any entities censoring transactions, we could fork them out. But is that how we do this? Is Ethereum really the ecosystem we've been thinking it is? with Mev and all that, and we're saying we're doing censorship resistant front ends and dApps, and at the end we still rely on middlemen or machines in the middle with attack vectors.
Well, for something like Cal Protocol, which is why it's super important, and it's great that it's finally there. If the other front ends for Cal Protocol get attacked or censored and stuff, being able to use the front end for Cal Protocol through Swapper or potentially its own end is a powerful thing to exist. That's where like the powerful ownership by DXDAO comes in. Whether it's like can't be attacked, that's another question that we're raising here, but like ownership by a decentralized collective of the front end of the only place the only place to access that protocol through a decentralized ownership front end. That is a standout right there.
Yeah, and maybe another perspective for us to keep in mind is the timeline for all of this to roll out. Like there's only so much that can happen right now, and DXDAO can come take advantage right in this moment, because a lot of what DXDAO is building for is a world that like does not yet exist. And so some of the tools and infrastructure that I think we rely on now doesn't have the security and doesn't have the reliability. But in the future, I think those decentralized options can and will. And I think DXDAO not only can use that, but will also be part of like building it. And I think the same thing when we think about Swapper and like, revenue users, like crypto is a bull market phenomenon, right? Like that's when new products will kind of come out, and no one really will know what the new trends will be. But you want to have Swapper positioned for whatever that increased activity will be and when it comes. And we're not really sure when that will happen. But like that's really where like all fees are made. That's where all kind of like tokens are kind of done there. So it's not so much that all of this is something that is within DXDAO's grasp and something that can all be done right now. And then just keeping in mind that this is like a huge societal world change that is going to take some time. And as we say, as I like to say, crossing the river by feeling the stones. So it's kind of doing that, but like on a much larger scale.
I mean, those protocols, those companies, they've been saying that they wish to incentivize community members to create front ends to their protocols. How is that not? Maybe someone needs to build some app or infrastructure where this could be visualized and made easier for people to be a part of, like incentivizing public goods, not just what Vitalik's been doing with optimism and retroactive stuff. Like if we are providing a service in a way to Uniswap and Uniswap users or Balancer or Sushi and all the others, by providing an alternative, maybe not perfectly safe, but more decentralized front end access to the protocols, why not make it clear and ask them to support the development of it? Would they be open, and who would that person be, those entities? like, would it be those foundations, the protocol team, the DAOs, or individuals from the community, whales? Support our efforts. Look what we're doing. We're not like competing with anyone, preying on anyone, eating anyone's business. We're actually helping the entire ecosystem. And if we're routing to 10 different exchanges, if all those 10 different exchanges gave us a little and their community gave us a little, then that's a runway for another few years.
But they would just do it themselves, right? I mean, Uniswap could just...
They can't. They can't. That's what they are publicly saying. They want other people to do it. We are those other people. They have billions. Why not give us $1 million?
Yeah.
So the example is Cow protocol benefits from people sending more and more traffic to it. So they're willing to give rewards for that. That is a revenue model for Swapper. Like, we would need to start sending them lots of traffic, right? That is an exact case of what you're describing. Uniswap, they don't pay for that traffic, right? Because they don't need to. First of all, they could, but I don't know if it benefits it doesn't benefit their protocol if you send them traffic.
No, I wonder, like, what if I made a proposal on Uniswap's forum and said, hello, everyone, we are building this front end that gives users decentralized access to your protocol and your pools. Would you like to give back? Because we are doing...
We could apply for a grant at Uniswap Grants, but like that, getting a one-time grant to like build something for Uniswap is not a revenue model, right?
Yeah, I also think so. I mean, yeah, this is probably one way of marketing what we are doing, but then this is not a sustainable revenue model, right? I mean, yeah, let's say they give like $1 million and we will burn it in a year.
I know, but the alternative of us making that $1 million ourselves through throughput, through like liquidity, volume, and fees, is slim.
I guess the question is also if there's a demand for it, right? If Uniswap would pay such an amount, because like maybe I'm misunderstanding as well, but deploying their front end on IPFS and ENS would take like a tech guy 5 minutes, you know?
No. I mean, Swapper, we already have it. Not like a clone of Uniswap, but what we have in Swapper.
So you're just saying like
we're already doing it.
Uniswap should just give us $1 million for what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you should go ask
so Uniswap, Uniswap protocol, like the whole point of it, they don't even need to or want to run the front end. They made this protocol, Uniswap v3, and then they're going to have Uniswap v4, right? Their whole point is they want people to build. They want everyone to just build on top of Uniswap protocol. They don't want to run their front end. They're not. Eventually, they probably might not even run their own front end. But like, they want everyone to use their protocol because it's the most efficient and best one. That's what they say, right? And they're going to make Uniswap v4, and that's what they want. But like, that's 1inch and Paraswap and Zero. They already all are built on top of Uniswap. Swapper is built. Echo routing is on top of Uniswap. The problem is they're not giving any rewards to anyone for any of that. And people are still doing it, right? That's versus Cow protocol. Now that we're doing it, we actually can get rewards from it. That's a big difference.
And also, like those, they don't have the DIY farming, and we only had it for pairs. Now we have it for single token staking, and that's basically allowing anyone from any other exchange seeding liquidity, be it Balancer, Sushi, whatever, to deposit an LP token inside Swapper in a single-sided staking campaign and create a farm for users on that other exchange. We could be the farming protocol of DEXs.
So Vanki presented a really good idea to, if we have, instead of just Swapper, we have like DXFi, which is our home, and one of the tools in there is Swapper. The other tool in there is permissionless farming. And so you make permissionless farming its own product tool that people like you just described can come and use that do-yourself farming for their LP tokens, for any tokens they want. That is an interesting idea, actual real idea that the team has proposed. And it's a change to the path of what Swapper is doing, and it's potentially a new revenue path. But it takes some work to split these things up.
I think it just needs a new model, like a new page inside Swapper. Like, I think what we're doing right now with expeditions isn't much less than what it would take to do what you just said. We should have done it.
But if it would, but this is part of a whole plan to make what is this product that DXDAO is your home, your front end to DeFi, and in there are things like expeditions, Swapper, bridging, right, and also permissionless farming. In that scenario, it feels more like it's not necessarily Swapper. Like these are different products, basically. You have to separate them as separate products almost.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would prefer Swapper to be like a consumer product, and then all these creating campaigns and reward programs and anything that a DAO or a project would do would probably pin that out as a separate product, because then you can cater to different audiences.
Is it still going to be free like everything else we do?
No. So yeah, I'm coming to it. So the idea that I was telling Sky about was a permissionless farming creation, where a project could come in and then they could just create a DIY farming campaign in against any LP across any DEXs. I don't know if it is possible. So a project
is possible. There are already 3 different protocols doing that on Arbitrum, allowing products to create farms for their tokens with liquidity on UniV3, and they allow farming.
Yeah, and we would probably take a fee out of it. Sorry, man. Were you saying something?
Yeah, I'm saying we're kind of late. I'm not too sure if we are late like that. But you're talking about Arbitrum, but then there are like multiple different chains where the TVLs are there. Yeah,
right.
I mean, the thing is, I feel like we fear shifting a little and moving on from what we're doing. It's like if we come up with an interesting idea, we think of it like something to add at the bottom of the backlog to the roadmap for 3 quarters down the line, instead of saying in an agile type of thinking, let's shift focus on and why, if this thing is more valuable, let's do this ASAP, and whatever else we're working on right now can wait. Because literally, if we take our hands off Swapper right now, it will live forever. Like, it's just like Amen. It's a thing of its own. As long as there's the blockchain, this thing is up and running 24/7, 365. So that there's no work that we cannot stop right now. Like, we can literally stop working on whatever we're working right now, and if we think that new thing is more valuable, get onto it ASAP.
Yeah, but how would we know the ones that we are working on is less valuable than this one?
If we have a product where communities that have been raising capital can incentivize liquidity mining for their token pairs on any exchange in the entire ecosystem, and we could charge a fee allowing them to permissionlessly create a farm with zero code, and we charge them, say, 0.1% for the farm that they will create, that could be generating tens of thousands of dollars a month, and it will cost us just 2 or 3 months in work tops.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ideas from like
it's like the topping up campaigns. Like sorry, Sky, I'm really sorry. It's like we've been saying we haven't done the top up campaigns. That could have massively improved our work with all of the liquidity mining we've been running for the whole year, and at the same time, we've been working on other stuff that we've treated like it's something that cannot be put off for a little later, and we still don't have the topping up of campaigns. Instead, we could have postponed the other stuff, work on the topping up of the campaigns. We would have already had that. It would have massively improved our operations in running our own liquidity mining, and we could have also marketed that to other communities as a product that they could come over and use, and then keep working on the other stuff.
Nathan, you're describing the prioritization, but like the Swapper team's already doing this prioritization. And people from the outside are saying, well, yeah, you're not we're not doing the right things, but like the people from the outside aren't helping determine the prioritization, right? So the question is, there's all these things that Swapper can do, just like you just described, but like, how do you actually do the prioritization of those things? And then do you prioritize by growing user experience, making money, compromising on decentralization, compromising on privacy? And that all determines prioritization of the huge list of things that Swapper could do, including people are talking about like, and this has been talked, this is not new, John and Federico and Zed and everyone's talking about like, well, like the future, Venki, but the future, like, are we going to need, a Uniswap v3 or a Trident or like a more capital efficient version of Swapper, like totally new smart contracts? Where does that come in? Should we leave Swapper where it is today, have everyone research the next month on like the actual one to choose, and then literally switch Swapper to the new one that we want to choose, like that's more capital efficient? Is that like something we should do? Like that has to be prioritized, right?
It is definitely something we can do and should be considering. It's like, I don't know.
We're not doing enough, I guess, research and using and staying up with what's out there, and then being able to, apply those learnings and be at the forefront, because we're like catching up on older stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty clear in the beginning of the year that we will try to solve the UX fate of the traders, and that has been what we've been trying to do. But now, if we've got to change the focus back to revenue, we will probably have to do some sort of research and then figure out. But for all of this, we need to know the data. We need to know, okay, right now we know that on an average there is like about 400 wallets that is making swaps, and that is our only way of determining daily active users, right? We don't know. Usually people just come into Swapper and then they might not make a swap. So which I'm guessing that if that could be like 30-40% above, I'm guessing that we will have about 600 people that are like DAUs, and we need at least to be like 10,000 to 20,000 DAUs to figure out a good way of revenue generation, because I mean 600, it's like nothing for the volume. At least if these were like huge volume makers, it's okay. But then this volume that we are making is also negligible, I would say. Yeah, I don't know. I'm questioning myself a lot for a lot of decisions that I've taken.
And it's a collective responsibility. That's what I meant in the very beginning of the call, Venki. It should in no way ever feel like it's your responsibility. That's the worst thing happened. That's the single most the thing in the proposal about the restructuring and refocus that we had from Geronimo that I didn't like. It's like waiting all this time and then pointing the finger and saying you've been doing it wrong, and as if you, Venki, have done something wrong. And where were we, all of us, during that time, not telling you that there's something wrong, right? So we're all to blame, every single one of us.
I mean,
it's not your fault, man.
John's obviously here, but like any of the other people that want to alter the product strategy of DXDAO, where are they right now, and where have they been on this call for the last 6 months? Right? Like that is a very important topic.
There is time. It's not like this call is the most important one. Like, yeah.
But if you care about the product strategy of DXDAO and altering it, like here's the place to be. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I mean, last night, my hair went straight hearing the person who called me a cunt call you a muppet, and we're giving this guy 10% reputation. So it's like we should be careful. He's basically blowing his reputation as a person who could be someone we can trust with giving us direction. If that person goes down that route of calling us names and acting indecently, he's not fit for being a part of the community. He's stirring shit. So we should be careful who's giving us directions and which way we're going. I'm not happy seeing people like his posts. There is a lot of stuff he's saying that is good. It's good. It's a wake-up call for us. I like a part of the stuff that he's doing, but he's also insulting us, and that's completely unacceptable. I don't want to see people liking his posts when he's calling us names. It's not respectful. That's not how he's going to gain our trust. How can we, if he wants to be a leader in a way, how can we trust him as a leader if he's acting indecently, offending people?
All right. This digressed a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, but Venki, again, on the prioritization, like if we spend a month in dev work and overhead and money, finances, and working on launching on Polygon, and we're just shrugging shoulders and saying we don't know why we did it, and there's no way to measure the effect it had, whether it's beneficial or not, it's not generating revenue. Why the fuck did we do it? And again, it's not your fault, man. Never. But I'm saying that's something we should change as a collective.
True.
And we don't need to kill each other in the process. I think we should be like patient, but we should stay on top of it. And I think I've been chatting with Augusto. He's very actually optimistic and hopeful that the hackathon could turn things around, and the retreat could turn things around. And I think we could come out stronger and better than before from all of this. And Yeah. The house is not on fire.
True.
People are making us look like shit in front of the whole world. That's not true. That's not who we are. All right. Yeah, let's call it an hour. So enjoy your Friday and a nice weekend. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Nathan.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.